Am I the asshole for telling my parents that they made their own bed so they can lay in it when they asked me for help? I, 29 female, was pretty much disowned by my entire family when I came out at 18. My parents gave me 5 minutes to grab my things before shutting me outside. I remember telling them that there was no way I could live on my own, that I was their kid and they should want to love and support me. My father told me that I made this bed myself by choosing my lifestyle, so I should grow up and learn to lay in it. I turned out pretty okay, all things considered. I was able to go to college on a few scholarships and not too many loans. I met my wife during our freshman year and I've been with her ever since. We have a 2-year-old daughter who is the most precious little person in the world. We bought a house, and we both have decent paying jobs. I consider myself to be incredibly lucky and I can't imagine my life without my wife and our daughter. I don't keep in touch with my bio family, so I don't know how my parents got my contact info, but they did. My mom sent me a message detailing the financial issues they were going through. They had to sell the house I grew up in and they moved to some apartments. At the end of the message, my mom asked me if I'd be willing to help them out for a little while by letting them stay with me. I didn't respond to the message, I just planned on pretending like I never saw it. But then I got a call the other day and as soon as I answered it, I realized my dad was on the other line. He told me the same thing my mom did and that they needed help. I said that really sucks, I hope you figure it out. He then flat out asked if I was seriously not going to provide them with any assistance. I asked why he wanted my help, and he told me that I should want to support my parents the way they supported me growing up. I replied saying that maybe if their support of me hadn't ended the moment I told them I was a lesbian, I'd be willing to help them, but unfortunately, they made their bed themselves, so they can lay in it too. I hung up on him and later he left a voicemail calling me selfish and cruel for using their financial struggles to prove a point. Maybe it is cruel, I don't know. Edit. I sent my mom an email with a bunch of links to soup kitchens, food pantries, housing assistance, etc. And then I blocked both her and my dad. I might change my number if they try calling again, but for now I'm gonna leave it as is. Am I the asshole for telling my son that we don't really have any room for him right now, so he needs to live with his dad and stepmom? My ex-husband and I divorced when my son was 10. My ex had found someone new. We went for 50-50 its custody, but he still had to pay some child support. I went back to school at that time. On the weeks his dad had him, I buckled down and did nothing but schoolwork. When he was with me, I made sure I had time for him before and after school. I did expect him to help around the house, but nothing excessive. Mostly just cleaning up after himself and helping with cooking and laundry. His dad's house was more fun. I tried to make my home welcoming. I bought a used PS4 and I got fiber optic internet. It wasn't enough for him. When he was 14, he and his father got the court to award my ex primary custody. I did fight it, but my son made it clear he would run away if I didn't give in. Counseling didn't help. I tried everything. It was devastating having my son decide I wasn't someone he wanted to spend time with. He started skipping visitation. When he did come, he would leave the house and not come home until it was time to sleep. During this time, I started a relationship with my current husband. He helped me through this. He wasn't on my radar romantically. Nobody was, so he got close by being an amazing friend. I asked him out and we got married 6 months later. We had known each other since I went back to university. 6 months after we got married, I got pregnant. By strange coincidence, so did the woman my ex was cheating with. Not the woman he left me for, a newer model. I had sold my house and my husband and I bought a condo together. Just a 2-bedroom apartment with a tiny den. We made the den into a nursery and consolidated our offices into the 2nd bedroom. My ex moved in with his new girlfriend and she isn't a fan of my son. His stepmother doesn't want him there if his father isn't there, so my son is also in the new house with his dad, his dad's pregnant girlfriend, and her mom. My son is 16 now and he called me to see if he could stay with me. I said I didn't really have any room. He asked me what I did with his room. He didn't even know I sold the house. He is very upset. He called me a bitch for not having a place for him to stay. I said he could stay in our living room on the couch. Not acceptable. I talked to my husband and we have enough money from the sale of my house and his old bachelor pad as well as our condo to buy back into the market. We were waiting for interest rates to fall, and we were going to move to a more reasonably priced city. I told my son if he could take the living room for now, we could have a room for him in 6 months. He moved in with his grandparents. He isn't happy there, At least his dad got him a car so he can drive to his same school. My son is pissed that I prioritized my new baby and my work over him. I had no expectation to ever need to house him again. My ex called me and told me to make our office into a room for our son. I told him that our son's circumstances were his fault, not mine. Am I the asshole for being a Karen about my car being fixed? My car was shaking when I braked from high speeds. My dad told me it was the rotors and I believed him, but the deal I got the car from has free diagnostic, so I took it there. So my dad was right, it was the rotors. My friend had just done the brake pads like a month ago, but not the rotors. So the dealer guy said, it'll be $650 to get all four rotors shaved down and an oil change synthetic oil, so oil change is like $90 itself. I said okay. He calls me like an hour later and says his guy started cutting the front rotors and it wasn't going to work, so they needed to replace all four for $850. I asked if they cut the backs ones yet, and he said no. I specially said do not cut the backs ones, do as little as possible. He calls me again and says his guy cut a back rotor and it wasn't going to work, so I needed to replace those two as it was too uneven now. I said I told you not to cut those, and he was like I was just trying to help you out. I'm fuming at this point. Go to pick up my car. It's $750 for the two front rotors and the oil change, when they had quoted me $850 for all four and the oil change. I pay and leave. My car is literally not drivable, it's so shaky. I bring it back and tell him the car is dangerous at this point and it needs to be fixed. We get into and he's like I'll do the back rotors for free labor. But it's $200 for the rotors. I tell him I'll get a lawyer cause I'm not giving him literally another penny. I paid $750 for a car that's worse than before. I ask for the manager and eventually they agree that it was their fuck up and they'll eat the back rotors. Pick the car up the next day and it's good. I told my parents and they said they're proud of me, but my one friend said I was a Karen. Am I the asshole for embarrassing my girlfriend's friend's boyfriend? My girlfriend wanted us to go on a double date with her friend and her boyfriend. I had met the friend before but never the boyfriend, so I asked my GF what he was like. He's been out of work for nearly a year now and will refuse to apply for any job that isn't specific to what he wants to do. He lives with his parents and expects my GF's friend to pay for everything when they go out. We got to the date and he immediately suggested doing rounds for drinks, so his GF got the first rounding. I got the next one, then my GF got the one after that. He then told his GF what he wanted to drink so she could get the next round. I just mentioned that it was his round next. His response was just, oh, I don't have any money. I just asked why he suggested rounds and expected everyone else to buy him drinks then. If he knew he wasn't going to do it back, he just started going on about not having money, so I just said that maybe if he bothered applying for jobs he's actually be able to pay his way instead of expecting everyone else to pay for him. He said I was completely out of order, but I just pointed out I'm not the one expecting my GF to pay for everything for me because I'm too lazy to get a job. My girlfriend agreed with me and he walked off. His GF apologized to us both and left with him. I was talking to a friend about it, and he said I shouldn't have said anything and that I was wrong for what I said, and that I probably embarrassed him. Am I the asshole for embarrassing my partner's friend's boyfriend? Am I the asshole for telling another mother our children aren't close anymore due to intelligence levels? My daughter, let's call her Sophie, used to be best friend with Cot. They used to be best friends in elementary school, but ever since middle school have started to grow apart. The school split the kids in advance and normal for math and science. All other classes are still together. My daughter got placed in the advance and Cot got placed in normal. No big deal, they still see each other in school. They were still close friends until group projects. There have been multiple group projects and kids get to pick their partners. Cot and Sophie usually work together, and that is when issues start happening. Sophie would get really frustrated that the work Cot did wasn't correct. I told her to just turn it in without fixing it, and she got a bad grade on that assignment. After that, Sophie went through a period of time fixing stuff. After a while I told her to stop doing group projects with her. So they stopped doing projects together and the friendship blew up, so they are not friends anymore. It's Sophie's birthday and invites were sent out. Cot wasn't on the invite list my daughter made. I got a call from her mom asking why she wasn't invited. I informed her they aren't really friends anymore. She said, invite her anyways since this is just a spat. I told her the people invited were people my daughter wanted at the event. This went for a while and came to why they weren't friends anymore. and I said it was due to both girls' intelligence levels, and tried explaining the group project issue. She got pissed accusing me I am calling her kid dumb. Never said that. She called me a jerk. Edit. I did tell her they weren't firmed anymore. She kept asking why. That's the reason I brought up the issue of why they aren't friends anymore. I wasn't going to lie. Also, she should already know why that friendship blew up. The kids were arguing about it constantly for a while. Please leave your comments down below to any of today's stories. Please like and subscribe. Thanks for watching.